It's Parallel Frequencies with just Blane and Coco.
Hello.
What's up, Coco?
Hi,
What's up?
freaks.
Yeah, say hello to the freaks out there, right? The freaks are growing. We got a lot of them. Thanks to our interview with James Ward Burkett, we got a lot of new freaks out there. You know what? Today is Movie Monday, and I didn't see a movie on the docket. What movie are we doing today, Coco?
Yeah, fans, freaks, you can come here expecting to see us break down and talk about a movie on Mondays, but because we just launched Parallel Frequencies, we thought it'd be a great idea to showcase the movie of us. Who are just Blane and Coco? So this is a get to know you episode to kick us off, right? The right way.
That's why you didn't let me know what this was going to be about. You didn't want me going and prepping my resume and getting my highlights written out. You didn't want me to go do all that and just put me on the spot.
You'll get your chance.
Yeah, but that's what it is here. This is raw, authentic, off the cuff. We talk. We want you to be a person sitting here with us. We want you to be a fly on the wall, listen to the conversation. And we want you to feel like you belong here. Like, that's the biggest thing.
You're welcome.
That's what you'll find out from me. That's what you'll find out from my story is everybody out there gets to belong, you know? So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for welcoming us into your car, your headphones, whatever you're listening to us on or watching us on. Thank you for that, first of all. Mm-hmm. Right, Coco? Like, we love the freaks out there.
Yes. Yeah. You know, I always tell a story to people who are asking questions about how they should present themselves. And I have this story that I tell them about howling with wolves. And I say, you know, how if you were out in the wilderness and you started hearing wolves howling, not in any dangerous way, like they were close by, but if you start hearing, you know, this pack of wolves in the canyon howling, you're going to feel this natural bubbling up inside of you to want to howl with them, right?
Yeah.
And when you do, you just might find that there are other people around who want to howl too, but they were too afraid until you started doing it. And then they're like, that just feels natural. So then all of a sudden you have all these people howling with you. So I encourage people to do the thing that maybe they're howling that you'd be afraid to do, but just do it because you're going to get all these other people howling with you. So we're here talking about movies. We're talking about pop culture in our own perspectives. And there's going to be a lot of people out there who agree with us. And those are going to be the freaks, right?
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear them freaks howling. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be out there howling like the wolves that they are. But we could be a strong pack of wolves, you know? The freaks out there, I believe in them, that they're going to be, well, I think that they're already above average intelligence. If they're listening to our show, that I'm just going to say that. I think they are. You know what? I think most of our freaks are actually probably smarter than me. And I like that. And that's okay because I want people to come into our comments. I want you to tell us, hey, you missed this. Hey, you should have talked about this. I want that. I don't look at those comments and think, oh, this jackass. You know, no. This is an open discussion all the time between Coco, Just Blane, and the freaks out there, whoever it is. If you're watching right now, it's you. If you're listening right now, it's you. Like that, You're the one, you know? And I want to make sure that's clear at all times. We are open. We're not here to troll anybody. We're not here to get trolled in the comments. Sure, try it, go ahead, but I think our freaks will come to our rescue when that starts happening. And that's the community that we're trying to build here, is that everybody's got a voice. We're all one, and you can come in and say what you want to and not get shot down. You can bring us ideas. Don't bring us silliness and trolling unless there's an idea there, and we can always have fun with that. I love it though, and the connection that we make with the people out there, you can't buy that. You know, you can't buy that, and that's what I'm here for. Coco, where in your history, past, whatever, did you come up with the wolves thing, the analogy there, because they're the metaphor? I like that.
It's actually a story from Terry Tempest Williams where she talked in an essay about doing a fireside speaking to a group of, it was actually a Mormon church. They asked her to come and speak about finding God in nature. And she said, well, if we're going to do that, we got to do it outdoors. We got to do it outside. And they were a little hesitant because, you know, those Mormons, they love their churches.
That's
So they were
right.
like, all right, fine. We'll go out into the canyon. We'll make it an actual fireside around a campfire, right? And during her speech, they did hear howling, and she stopped her speech in the middle of it and she just started like just howling with them. And a bunch of those, you know, Mormons, uptight a little bit
Oh, yeah.
people that were like, what do we do? This is very not like what we normally do at a church meeting. This is
Yeah.
not what we do. So they're looking at each other and then they're like, okay. Some of them just were like, we got to howl. So they started howling with her. And she finished up her speech and they ended it. And then she heard later that night, she overheard two of the ladies talking as they were returning from the bathroom. One of them says to the other, that was a little strange tonight,
Mm.
the howling with the wolves and or coyotes or whatever it was in the canyon. And the other lady said, it just felt natural, don't you think? And I have never forgotten that story as I read it and I thought, howling with the wolves, if someone says, I'm going to do something a little different than everybody else does it or that they expect, and I just feel like it's right, I feel like it's the most natural thing in the world to do what I got to do and be me, then you got to do it. Because if you howl, someone is out there wanting to howl too. That's where I came from.
It's okay to stand out. It's okay to be weird or whatever the negative words out there. It's all right to be like that. Individuality is fine, and you will find that there are others who share the same individualities. I think that's it. You know, we've all got common denominators somewhere. Nobody out there is too boring or too crazy that they don't have a common denominator with somebody else on this planet that we live on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can all be our very different version of weird. I think that's why it spoke to me. And listeners will remember last week we did the Just Blaine's Trailer Park, and we found Florence Given and her show, which I'm now listening to religiously. She's an author of several books, and she has her new show. And now I am hooked because she's very different than me. She's probably a different astrological sign. I don't even know what makes her brand of how she shows up in the world. But even still, the words she's speaking are resonating with my soul so much that I'm like, yeah, we all got to adopt a little bit of this weird, a little bit of this different. And my favorite word she uses is audacity. That's my new favorite word. Is I'm like, what if we just had the audacity to be ourselves? Even if it made people uncomfortable, just, oh. So that's my question to you, Blaine. I want to ask you this. What gives you the right, what gives you the right to be here talking to us today and producing these movies? Like, who do you think you are? Tell me.
Do you know, I've always kind of said that I don't look at art. I don't listen to a song. I don't watch a movie. I don't see a TV show and think, oh, this is a bunch of junk. This is crap. Sure, there might be shortcomings. Sure, it may not be the greatest overall thing, but to me, somewhere in there, somebody's passion is put in front of you. Who am I to knock that stuff? And I think that's what makes me the best person to talk about this stuff is I'm not here to punch down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've worked with all of these celebrities over the years. I've got a long career in Hollywood. I know the history of Hollywood and movies and all that comes with it. And I never liked when people, Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs down and all that stuff. That always kind of irritated me.
Yeah, the judgment.
I thought, you know what? Well, who are they to kill the dreams of whoever made this project?
Yeah.
You know, because anytime they gave it 2 thumbs down, there's not somebody out there that didn't think, ah, oh, damn, like I worked hard. I put my heart into this. And my wife actually asked me that. Lindsay's my wife. We met in Hollywood on Tinder, by the way. I think I mentioned that to Jim Burkett in our interview with him. That's crazy how
things that had to align just to make that happen.
For a boy from the farm, I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and I ended up in Hollywood, on Hollywood Boulevard, and met her, who she was from Utah and lived in Hollywood. Wild, you know, it's wild how that happens. But yeah, she asked me, she's like, do you really listen to songs and think and not think, oh my God, this is awful? And I was like, in a way, yeah, like I really do. I mean, sure, I know what a bad song or a bad movie or a bad TV show looks, feels, and sounds like. I know what they are. But like I said, I know what it takes to put kind of that kind of stuff out. And I know the vulnerability that it takes for the person on the other side, the creator, to be putting that out. So
Yeah.
why take that away? Because the more you knock stuff like that, I think the less inclined somebody is to want to do more.
Yeah. It
And why
kills
would
the
you want to kill
creative
it?
spark.
I don't, there's no reason to kill the creativity, but I really did. And I answered that question to her truthfully. I listen to everything and watch everything and at least give them some kind of credit, you know, because I just don't think, usually the people who are bashing stuff because it's bad or they're rating it on IMDb a 1, there ain't nothing out there that's a 1. Nothing. Nothing that somebody put
Someone
out is
put
a
in some
1.
time and effort to create and put that out into the world. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always admired that because, you know, growing up in a farm in the middle of nowhere, I wanted to know how this stuff was done. And it was so far away from me. It was it was behind the curtain, behind the curtain, behind the curtain. Because there were so many leaps and bounds to have to get over, you know, geographic area, where I'm at, accent, you know, whatever. You know, there was all these other things to get past. And I just kind of like anything else. Kind of like me, how I feel about other stuff. If somebody throws the you can't do it or that kind of stuff at me, I don't really like it or I let it get me. And I just do it anyway. It's like, I don't care what they say, you know? And I think that's how all creatives should be. All
Yeah,
the
you
movies,
kind of
all
have
the,
to be. I
yeah.
mean, all of our passion and everything that goes into art, which I will say over and over again, is not just art in the way that we think of it. Movies, paintings, music, any form of art we normally think of. I think our lives are an art piece. I think how we live
Mm,
every single day is a creative process. So you put that kind of judgment, it's your passion, it's your soul, and you're putting your life out there. But artists also have to simultaneously detach themselves from their worth of what they create and put out there. You have to be able to say,
yeah.
all right, people are going to have judgment about this, they're going to have thoughts about it, whatever it is, but it doesn't mean anything about me as a person. I'm just putting it out and I'm letting it go. I'm releasing it. It's this movie I made, or it's this TV show, or it's a song I wrote, and I put my heart and soul into it. But now it doesn't belong to me anymore. It's out there, right?
And we come in different flavors as a human race. We come in different flavors. Who thought or thinks or believes that there is something, any kind of art that everybody on this planet's going to like? Or that everybody's going to hate? Just the opposite. There's not. There's going to be differences because we all come in different flavors.
Good point.
Somebody's going to like it or not like it. And that's okay. That's what makes us not pluribus.
Exactly.
That's what makes us not a hive mind. And it is that kind of stuff. That's what the human race really is, you know. It's the differences in each other. And then we come together and we make magic, especially on a movie set or a TV set or production studio. People are making magic come together in there, and not everybody in there is the same flavor.
Yeah. And
But it still comes out, you know. So,
how many times have you met somebody who you thought could be a really creative person, that just their personality, or even you might have seen something that they've, kind of been playing with or whatever, and they're absolutely crushed and debilitated by the worry that what they're making isn't good, or that it's too personal, it's too vulnerable to let it be seen, or
mm,
they just can't. So we're holding on to all that. I think the invention of social media, when like Vine videos started coming out, I think it opened up to people just throwing crap out there. And it was like, it's either crap or it's not, or whatever. We don't care. It's just, we're putting it out. And we got to see the talent that actually
Mm.
exists outside of Hollywood, outside of the typical avenues we see. Like somebody could just have an iPhone and be at home and create the funniest thing you've ever seen in your entire life that somebody just made in their living room one day.
It's incredible what technology has allowed us to do. COVID, that was to me the positive that came out of COVID was the fact that all these people were stuck at home bored. What are we going to do? We're going to make content, throw it at the wall, see if anything sticks. And I think that was one of the most creative times, at least during my lifetime, of just a bunch of people not necessarily coming together, but they were even coming together. Remember the gridded Zoom calls that people were getting real creative with how they were being able to, I saw people playing ping pong. You're in two different places, and how are they doing it, So I saw a lot of that.
Fun with it. Just having a good time.
I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think that's all it is. Any kind of entertainment out there, any type of art, you just got to have whatever time you're supposed to have with it. Because it's not always a good time. Sometimes it could be sad. It could make you cry. Could make you angry. That's okay. But you got to feel it, and you got to be allowed to feel that when you're consuming stuff. When did you not maybe only discover but find out or recognize? How about that you were weird?
That is a deep question. Actually, that's one of the questions I wrote down for you. And this goes back to kind of some of the work that I do in the healing world is inner child healing, right? So being able to recognize that we are all such different human beings and that not everybody thinks and acts and behaves as we do. I am a Pisces. So for those listening who are into the astrology, my sun sign being a Pisces and my moon sign being a Leo, I'll let you guys decipher that all out. But as a Pisces, I started to realize, looking back at my childhood, there are a lot of things now that make sense that I didn't realize I was so different. And maybe not even that different. I mean, there are a lot of people coming out with like, I used to do this as a child. Anyone else? And now there's all these people going, yeah, me too. So I remember there was this time as a kid that I was blowing my own mind. I can't remember if I was looking at my hand or if I was looking at my face in the mirror. And I started to realize that I was that person. Or like, this is my hand. And I just stared at it for a really long time. I must have been 6 years old, I would think. 7 years old. And I was like, whoa, I exist in this body. Man. And I was not on drugs, okay? There was no gas leak in my house. I promise you, this is just all the most natural out-of-body experience kind of a thing. And I said something to one of my friends who's also a very kind of, kind of an artist personality. And I was like, do you ever have this feeling like you blow your own mind? Like you just realize for a second that you're the only you that's ever been and ever will be? Like, is that a thing? And he was like, yes, nobody's ever understood that before. And we were, if we tried to talk to anyone else about it, they were like, you weirdo, what are you talking about? Or like the feeling like, have you ever thought about how every single thought and moment of your entire life has led up to this moment right now that you're having? Like you and I sitting here having this conversation and it's being recorded for a podcast. It's blowing my mind right now that every single moment that I've ever experienced ever in my whole life is led up to right now. Depressing. Anyone else out there? Does that blow anyone else's mind?
Depressing that your whole life led up to a conversation with me. That's right now, yeah.
Just now.
But
then that moment right then.
I do think about that a lot. And it's crazy how one piece, we talked about that with Jim Ward about incoherence. He talks about it. One piece of the puzzle out of place or in another place, none of this.
And there's so many possibilities. And that's why I love art. I love art in every
Yeah.
form because it is a reflection of that human experience, of what that realization is like. So, why I'm here on this show to talk about our parallel frequencies. So, you guys are going to get to know
Hmm.
why we called it parallel frequencies. This is the secret right now. We're going to do it right now. The big reveal is that you've got Hollywood and what it was like to be, and I think that's why you really do appreciate every piece of art that gets created. You don't judge it because you understand the very central uh, experience of creating that art. Like, hey, it may not be my taste, but I can appreciate the person and the effort and the energy and the thought and the creativity that went into making this. And you've got that frequency that you're coming into when watching all these shows we're going to be talking about and these movies we're going to be talking about. And then there's me, who's a little bit of a woo-woo witch, energy world, kind of a thing. And I've got all of this knowledge and experience that I got coming to me. And I like to talk about the characters and
Hmm.
let's dive deep into what these emotional experiences are, what it means. What is this piece of art really teaching us? What is it really talking about? What's the theme or the moral of it? We got to do that with coherence. It's incredible.
I loved it. And that's exactly what the show is. It's same thing, but different perspectives, which is what life is. It's what people in general, really, everybody's riding a parallel frequency. If you ask me, um,
Absolutely.
we could all go into that. So, but no, I love what you said there about some stuff. So, a witch though, how do you become a witch? I think people out there, we've talked about you being a witch and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and all that. How do you become a witch? There's got to be
First
like
you
a
go and subscribe and listen to Practically Magic, my other show, of course. Shameless plug right there. But also I truly do not associate the word witch with anything specific that you have to accomplish or that you have to identify. I think that a lot of people get that mistaken because they'll go, oh, you're a witch, so that means you're Wiccan, right? Like you come from that
mm,
experience. And I say, no, no, no. There are people that would call people a witch and they would absolutely mean it in the most negative way possible, that you are a conjurer of the devil and
ah,
dance with him in the woods and where we came from in our history. But I love the acronym, which is woman in total control of herself. That's my favorite
all right.
interpretation. And I think that means absolutely anybody could call themselves a witch if they wanted to.
We did have the conversation already about witches and warlocks, and if there's male, female, and if we're doing all the same for one now. So go back and check that out if you guys haven't heard that. But yeah, I like that. Women, what? Give us that witch acronym one more time.
Women in total control of herself.
All right.
So in that case, it would have to be a woman. But as I said before in our previous conversation about that, I really don't think there's any rules. And I'm not the person to ask about that because I would say, whatever you want. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You went to Stonehenge though. I saw some witch stuff at Stonehenge. That's what the picture really stood out to me. That's what picture stood out to me on the Facebook page. And it was like, wait a minute, is this photoshopped? How did that happen? Like, how did you go over there?
Was lucky enough to go on pilgrimage to England, having always wanted to go back to kind of ancestral grounds and get reconnected with the land that I didn't steal from indigenous people, I guess.
Yes.
I could go into that, but basically, what is my ancestral line? Where did my magic and my power come from? And where are my ancestors buried? And wanting to connect with sacred places there. And I got connected with a group called the Sisterhood of Avalon, Avalon being the mythical place that King Arthur is from, and the magic and the island of Avalon, if you're not familiar with that folklore. But I've always been super drawn to Avalon as a concept, as an idea, as a spiritual practice. And so I absolutely joined in. Me and my aunt got to go together. So we went on pilgrimage and Stonehenge just happened to be one of many sacred sites we got to go to, hold rituals, chanting. It was one of the most magical, amazing experiences in my life. I only hope I get to do it again and more so in the future. That's my plan, is more traveling, more seeing of that. But most
Yeah.
people will associate Stonehenge, the Druids and the pre-Celtic age. So it was a very cool experience to get to actually be inside the circle and drum my drum
Yeah.
and chant, hold space there. It's really cool.
Did you connect with the ancestors? Did you do any of that? Did it happen?
Absolutely. Yeah, it felt kind of like, the way I describe it to people is, if I'm kind of intuitive or connected, to spiritual things anyway, doing it here feels a little bit like static radio. Like you're not quite tuned
Mm.
in. You can hear it. You can kind of get the messages. But I felt like when I got there and stood on the grounds and even took my shoes off, bare feet, grounding on the tor in Glastonbury, I felt like it was like a tuning in of the radio. Like you finally clicked into the right station and you can hear it clearly. I saw people, I connected with people. There was, at Stonehenge specifically, there was this image of a man in kind of a leathery armor with like a red beard. And
Mm.
he came to my awareness during one of the rituals we were doing, and it felt like he was thanking us. Felt like he was coming to say thank you for continuing this tradition, this work, connecting with this land that's sacred to our people, this kind of energy. And then I thought, wow, that's really cool. And then I went into the museum and they had uncovered bones of someone in a nearby village. It wasn't at Stonehenge, the site, but where a village was near Stonehenge, where like everything was wooden houses and wooden things. And so they had to do an excavation of these artifacts. And so they had uncovered a skeleton, and they made a recreation of what the skeleton would have looked like based on the structure, based on the bones. And I kid you not, it was 100% the guy that I talked to. 100%. I was
That's
like,
wild.
what? Now I can't prove that to
That's
anybody but
crazy.
myself, because only I know what I experienced. But I was like, I saw that guy. He had a red
That is
beard and
wild.
everything.
Hey, we ain't here to pick that apart and figure out what was going on. We believe. I believe.
You think what you
This
think. It
show, if we're
doesn't.
not real careful, yeah, if we're not real careful, our show here could really turn into Coast to Coast AM, the
Mm-hmm.
old radio show where they call in and talk about paranormal stuff. Maybe we will have
Hey,
parallel
I welcome
frequencies,
it.
coast to coast thing. Yeah, I think that'd
Give
be
me your
fun.
stories. We'll read them. We'll read those in the comments. I think the comments will be just as entertaining as the show itself when we get real rolling here. It'll be lots of fun to
Oh,
hear what
absolutely.
stories you guys have.
I do. I really do want to hear. I don't know. There's something about that. I do want to hear people's paranormal. Would you call that a paranormal experience that you had, or is that what do you call that? Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't have called it paranormal, having been the one that experienced it. I would have called it an intuitive connected.
Mm,
Like, I think that it's something that everyone is capable of. And I know there's a lot of people that walk around kind of being like, well, I have a gift. I am
yeah.
gifted. I'm a medium. I'm a psychic. I'm a whatever. I was born with these gifts. And I do think that there are things, something to that, that because of generational line or whatever, you have a tendency towards those gifts. However, I also believe that everyone is capable of connecting like that if they truly step into that possibility. So if you're like, ooh, that sounds fun and interesting, follow my stuff. We'll help each other get there. It's
That's
possible.
incredible. I don't think I can do too much of that. I don't think I have a gift. Maybe I need to tap in and figure it out.
You just got to figure out what your gift actually is and how it shows up. And then you're there. You got it. This is one of my gifts. One of my gifts is when I see people and meet people and work with people, I tap into their child selves. I can
Mm,
almost feel like I'm not just talking to just them, but I'm also talking to this past version of themselves. So that's my next question for you. I want you to tell me when you were 6 years old, and I use that age specifically for a reason, but 6-year-old Blane, what did he love to do? What was his thing that was like he had to be dragged away from it because he wanted to do it all day, every day?
Believe it or not, I played every video game, watched every TV show, went to every movie, but I was a 3-sport athlete too. And
Wow.
baseball, basketball, football, it was hard to pull me away from anything sports related. Or content related. That was my 2 avenues, and I loved playing sports so much so that I became a pro wrestler at one point later on. So I had some athletic ability, if you think so. No, but you do have to have some.
Who's
But
asking? Just have
I
the
did have some.
audacity to be it. That's it. You're an athlete. Bam.
Yeah, but the thing is, I was out of the house all day, and it was hard to get me to sit still, really. And I know that sounds weird because I do watch so many movies and consume so much content, but that was me. I was active. You couldn't hold me down. You couldn't hold me still. And that kind of translates to my entire life. It's like, nah, I'm going to do it my own way, like whatever I got to do to get to where I want to be. So yeah, that's what it was for me, was sports. Couldn't get me away from just playing. And I think that's what it was. It wasn't necessarily that I loved the sport. If I did, I'd still be playing it. That's the maybe not at 40 plus years old, but I would have continued playing them till the end, and I wouldn't have decided that it was the end for me. It wasn't. I didn't wait for somebody else to tell me, no, you're done. Like, you're not good enough to play for this next level. I knew it for myself, and I'm like, all right, I'm this is as far as it's gonna take me. But yeah, that's a great question. I love that.
Yeah, I always believe that 6 years old is a great age to ask that question, because I think that whatever really ultimately was the deep down passion and drive that got you to do what you did at 6, it can help guide what it is that you should be doing now.
Mm-hmm.
You can tap into that same enthusiasm and be like, whatever it was that was so enticing about that at 6 is going to keep me enthusiastic about it now as an adult. And so your answer reflect that perfectly, because I mean, if that's what you love doing, you consuming content and never stopping, like always being like this and this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, then you're right where you need to be. You're in the perfect realm to do it. You're helping people produce and get creative with their shows, and then creating this for us.
Yeah, it was always something I was told I couldn't do. After 6 years old, and the love and all of that for both and everything that I was doing never left. But then I had guidance counselors or specific teachers or whoever. I remember sitting in a guidance counselor's office. What do you want to do when you grow up? Basically, not be here. I had dreams of Hollywood, and people would, where I'm from, I might as well move to the moon. Like I said, I was moving to the moon because it was that far-fetched to them. Far-fetched enough that my own guidance counselor told me, no, you need to stay here and be a public service worker of some kind. That's what I was told in high school. Stay in Humboldt, Tennessee, and be a public service worker. I walked out of there. I wasn't mad. I was just like, well, I ain't talking to her again. Like, that's not what I'm doing. I always knew. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew the path. And most of it was making my own lane. It was make your own lane and figure out where you're going. And that's what I did. So, but yeah, I had everybody from guidance counselors, teachers saying, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't do that. And it was never like, it never held me down. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, they're wrong, and on to the next. And that continued to move. There was times when me saying I was going to move to Hollywood and all of this and had these grandiose ideas that there was doctors that said I was bipolar. No, I literally picked up and went to Hollywood and did everything I said I was going to do. I'm not on bipolar meds or anything. Wasn't ever. That was a misdiagnosis. I'm not saying I don't have some sort of mental diagnosis probably in there, you know? Don't we
Superpower.
all?
Yeah.
But telling me I'm bipolar because I had grandiose. I love that word because that's what they use in manic in bipolar and depression is grandiose. I had grandiose ideas that I was moving to Hollywood and doing all this. And I'm like, what's grandiose about that? I'm doing it. And I did it. I went and did it 10 years worth. I did a 10-year stint in Hollywood and conquered it, you know? So,
Yeah. You needed a
yeah,
little bit of
I
that.
got
It
impassioned.
takes a little bit of crazy for all of us to get to where we are going and do what we need to do.
Yeah, I did have to have a fire lit under my ass. Maybe that's what it was. But
Hmm.
these people telling me that they didn't tell me that to light a fire under my ass. They told me that because they thought that was the truth.
Yeah. Projecting
They
a
didn't
little
see
bit of
much. They didn't see much. Yeah, yeah. So that always kind of stuck with me, you know. What else do you have for me? You got
to
any more
ask.
big questions?
Yeah, I feel like creativity. So I've recently adopted another title in my long list of whatever it is that I do, a creative coach, because I think creativity is what drives us to move through life. I mean, you could call it a mindset
Mm-hmm.
coach, but it's really creativity that gets us there. So I really look towards when we talk about these projects, these movies, these TV shows that we're talking about, I look at creativity as part of the process that got this product made. But I also wonder about um, our own processes of creativity, how we get that creative spark. So if you feel like you drive creativity into your life, whether it's the work that you do here in content creation, media creation, or if it's like a hobby that you do on the side, what do you feel like is, first of all, the creative spark that gets you going? What gets the inspiration sparking? And then what is like your creative outlet?
A lot of it is talking to the people that want to make stuff and want to create stuff, and that gives me an extra spark because now it's like, all right, well, you gave me an idea or a vision or a picture of
Mhm.
what you're looking for. Now let me see what I can do to make that happen, and then that's when you've seen it happen for me. That's when I kick in. That's when it's just plain 2 o'clock in the morning, sitting here, coming up with something crazy. And
The
and
wizard.
no idea is too big. Yeah, no idea is too big. It's not. There's no such thing as a grandiose idea.
Hmm.
Not in that text. Not in that context. Because you better, before somebody diagnoses somebody with mental illnesses because they have grandiose ideas, you need to look and see, is it really that big of an idea? Because if somebody else has already done it, it's not. And there's not a lot of things that other
Hmm.
people have not done.
Yeah.
People make movies all the time. They move to Hollywood all the time. So to be told that and thinking that, I'm like, ah, shit. Like something's wrong with me. Like I'm not supposed to think that way. No, 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 no. You can
See?
always let the creativity in you flow out. Like let it come out, and that's what helps me. I mean, my outlet is watching a movie, uh, watching TV, playing video games. I love that, and I always find inspiration. People talk about writer's block. My writer's block is, sure, it's the same type of thing, but it's an easy fix for me because it is go watch some other piece of content, consume something, or I do like nature. We live in a great area. When it's nice weather out, I'm out riding a bike. I'm out listening to nothing, not consuming anything. And that's a lot of times where I can free up and then let the thoughts come in clear, you know, because a lot of this is noise. There is a lot of noise going on in here. And over the years, I learned how to filter a lot of it out, you know. Living in Hollywood, you learn how to filter out noise of all kinds.
Yeah,
So,
I imagine
yeah, I
so.
love that's a great question too.
Yeah,
That's a great question
we
too.
call
What
it
about you?
awen. The spark of awen is the content, is the creation of some inspiration, and it almost feels like it's a spiritual experience because it feels like it comes from somewhere else. It's, like, oh, I don't know how I had that idea, but I'm inspired and I'm going to go, flow with it and see where it takes me. So
Yeah,
anyone familiar
flow.
with the
I love
story of
flow.
Cara Dwin Caradwen is the goddess that created Awen and her cauldron. This is the kind of come from that I have, that I'm bringing to the table. So when we talk about movies and things like that, you're going to hear a lot of stuff that comes from a place of symbolism and, you know, how you break down archetypes and characters in the
Yes.
story. That's how I think of it. And a lot of what you said is true for a lot of people. I tell kids when they're learning to be artists and they're learning to be creative, I say, first of all, you got to learn how to be bored. Sometimes it's not about feeding your brain with more and more and more. Sometimes it's about that still, quiet, go out in nature, turn the headphones off. Don't feed yourself with anything. Just be bored and see what comes up, because the creativity is going to, the spark of it is going to come out of the darkness. And the other one is feed.
That's funny.
The other side of it is feed your brain. Feed your brain with images. Feed your brain with sound. Feed your brain with inspiration, and then, you know, move through that.
That's funny. I call it the quiet hours, and that's in the middle of the night. Quiet. It's dark, and there are times when I don't put on anything. It is just, let's see what happens. Let's see what.
Yeah. You need that.
Let's see what thoughts come in, go out, but let's see which ones stay. And I think that's a big part of it too. It's like, sure,
like
you're going to have a lot of thoughts, but you would get, it's a filter for me. Or it is throw everything at me and once again, kind of see what sticks, you know? What about you? Where do you get the creativity from? Where do you get the inspiration, or what's your outlet?
Well,
all of those things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the answer to my own question. And like, I got Kitty here trying to knock everything over. Say hi, Dilly.
Yeah, I got one at my feet.
Hi, Dilly. She jumped up here.
Hello,
and
Kitty.
Be here with me. So she's been naughty. Answer to my own question. So the way that, and I can't wait to talk about, we're going to be talking a little bit about this week, the Never Ending Story movie. Yeah. And how imagination plays a part in that. For me to be able to put myself in situations where my imagination gets to run wild is going to be the best place for me. So in that boredom, when I take walks, I try not to listen to anything while I'm outside taking walks, but I love to walk past different houses and different, I don't know, just different images of places and things that I can see. And then my imagination just starts to run wild. I'm almost always living in a reality that isn't actually the physical reality that I live in. I'm a delusional person. Always disassociating to something else. At any given moment when you meet me, I might be a warrior. I might be a queen. I might be a poor, lonely, starving peasant. Whatever suits my fancy in my head at the moment. And so that's just kind of the world I live in, and I love it.
Yeah. So. I've always respected that a whole lot about you, and that you are like that when in public or wherever. And yeah, that's always been something that it's kind of it's admired, you know. And I think but I do see that, and I think that. But do you have creative writer's block or anything, or what do you do for that? Nothing, or walk silently?
Gosh, the only thing that blocks me from my creativity is time, giving myself the time and allowing myself to be bored. I tend to fill my schedule and fill my time with too many things, because they're all things I want to do. I want to be out socializing. I want to, say yes to this and yes to that. And if I don't give myself enough time to be bored and to be creative, that blocks me. But if I have time, I really don't have any blocks or issues being creative and coming up with ideas.
Yeah. You're real educated in this stuff too that you talk about. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of the other woo-woo people, I'll say because you did. It's not negative.
That's what everybody would call us,
but
yeah.
But a lot of the woo-woo people out there do not have the education and the knowledge that you have. They are just kind of, so I think that's something awesome too. We've talked a lot about us, and I think the only way to continue doing this is for us to do this in the show, normally, regularly. We're going to tell stories about us. We're going to talk about it. We're going to interject when something from a movie looks like something from our own lives. Like, I want the freaks to get to know us
Yeah.
and just jump on this ride with us. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going, but you know what? We can all go together. That's my, you know. So I don't have any more questions for you at this moment, Coco, because I want this to unravel as time goes on
Yeah.
and we find out those things, you know? So what do you got for us here before we
I'm
wrap
just
this one up?
extremely grateful for being able to have this episode be just something a little outside of the norm for us to be able to show who we are. So I'm going to say thank you to the people who did listen to this episode and got to know us a little bit better. I absolutely welcome questions. For the most part, I'm an open book. I love answering questions about my life, about who I am, where I came from. Um, if you want to know books that you're like, I want to know more about that, I will share those with you. So I'm just saying this has been a great experience to get to know each other and us so that everyone listening can be like, I'm on this ride with you. Let's go. We're ready.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if you're a freak out there listening still to this episode, I mean, if you haven't hit subscribe, what are you waiting on? Because if you made it this long, you're riding with us already. You know, you're riding with us already. And if you want to follow us on YouTube and see us, watch the videos. It's at Parallel Frequencies Daily. At Parallel Frequencies Daily. We really do look at all the comments. And I love when I look and see the subscriber number go up. And it's not us chasing clout or chasing money or whatever. I will be honest. If there's anything I'm chasing, it's community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place where people can come and feel like they belong. And that's what we're doing here, you know? So if you don't like it, get the hell out. And if you do want to be a part of it, then hit subscribe and follow us. I mean, it's that easy, right?
Yeah. And
Was that too
doesn't
bright?
cost you anything to do that. I mean, you're supporting us and making a community happen, and you just all you have to do is click a button. So easy.
Click a button, get to know us, get to know our content that we talk about, watch the content with us. We're going to be real good about basically trying to prepare ahead. In the content world, that's a huge game changer. Us preparing ahead is going to let us tell you what movie we're going to be talking about so you can watch it ahead of time. And we're going to try to do that as much as possible, you know? So we want the freaks to be a part of this with us. You are a huge part of this. I love saying it. I'm never going to get past saying freaks for our fan clubs, for our followers, subscribers, our people, you know, our tribe. But that's all I got. I love this episode. I didn't know how I was going to feel about this. And I think
I had to talk you into it a little
exactly
bit,
what
but
we
I'm
wanted to
like,
do.
this is your chance, man. This is your chance. Let's show everybody who we are.
Yeah, but until next time, it's just Blane and Coco Parallel Frequencies. We'll see you right here.